Good decks. We've got Pikachu and Zekrom. We've seen this before, so let's head straight on over into the game and let's see if Pikachu and Zekrom can overcome this disadvantage which it does have moving into the game. You've got to think Azul is the favourite going into this. Urshifu's got the weakness, but it's not just the type advantage. It's the fact that you've got answers to the answers. Azul has made a really good deck here. And of course, this is kind of a first draft of Urshifu.
Yeah, exactly. Only a couple of weeks into the Battle Styles format, and Azul has already identified exactly what he needs. Not just one tech to beat the Mewtwo's, he's doubling up to ensure that that is not going to cause him any issues. And we already know that he's been able to make swift work of Jeremy. David playing a very similar archetype, of course, with only a couple of card changes. We'll see if any playstyle tweaks can make these games any closer. But as we're seeing from Azul's side, already has a very nice workable hand. Early energy drop on your Urshifu is pretty much all you're looking for. Also grabs another quick ball now, so his start is looking fantastic out the gate.
Yeah, he's got pretty much everything he's looking for there. He's got the Urshifu, he's got the energy, he's got the switch if he needs it. Also got a quick ball, which could potentially be a Jirachi, and you could switch into that and Stellar Wish turn one. Okay, fine. Giratina's not a particularly good starting Pokemon. You'd rather start with something else. But if that is the worst thing that you can say about your start, and you've got all of these cards with which to work, that is a pretty good opening, and it does look like Azul is going to grab Jirachi with Quick Ball and then do the usual, searching through your prize cards there, looking through your deck, trying to figure out which of your 6 cards are in the prizes.
Among those 6 is the Jirachi GX by the looks of things. The Mimikyu's here, and that's oftentimes the first port of call to try and protect yourself. So Azul's going to have to try and prioritize getting a couple damage counters onto Mewtwo's that David will be throwing at him. He is going to go ahead and switch his Giratina to get a free Stellar Wish, knowing that David is most likely just electrifying anyway. It gives you basically a double dip on this Wish. You can go ahead and establish that basic fighting energy and pass it over to David, who's not going to shabby start himself. Picks up the lightning energy for turn as well. So he's going to get the ideal Electrify play off here. Can combine it with a Swell as well. And can also have his first deck search with the Cherish Ball here.
Absolutely. Now, this is an interesting way we're going here because, of course, Azul wants to go first, so you can start setting up those Urshifu, get the VMAX rolling at the earliest opportunity. And David kind of wants to go second to get that turn 1 Electrify on the Boltund. We've seen these decks play before. We know that's a general preference. The problem is if we go chalk here, Azul goes, gets an energy on Urshifu, and then David goes and gets the Electrify, and then Azul goes up by 2 prizes. And for me, that is the point in the game where David needs to pounce. That needs to be the Mewtwo turn. If Azul does take the KO on that Boltund, David needs to be ready right now with that Mewtwo. And we know David doesn't, but we know that Azul doesn't have Jirachi. So if you can avoid that Mewtwo being damaged and that Mimikyu coming down to turn off abilities, you could actually have a nice answer to an Urshifu nice and early, and that could be what gets you ahead in the game, just enough to give a really good chance in this opening game.
And David is going to go ahead and use his Quick Ball as well here. Is going to put the Pikachu and Zekrom into that discard pile, allowing him to copy it with Mewtwo and Mew's ability. It looks like he might be playing a Marnie here as well, trying to disrupt Azul's opener. There is still a Stellar Wish in the active, but you draw into a Radar. That gives you the option to go ahead and grab the Dene GX if you want to refresh your hand. It can be really nice if you can be threatening boss's orders, but he is just going to go ahead and hit the Electrify button here. I don't mind it too much at all. You can keep your options open for next turn, knowing that this turn, you've pretty much got the best of it.
Yeah, this is looking pretty nice. This is a good start. And in order for us all to use Mimikyu to really take advantage, you've got to get the Mimikyu out, and you have got to get the Galarian Zigzagoon as well to drop a damage. David, Azul here, got the energy, got the Pokemon communication to go and get the VMAX. That's pretty nice. And then we've got a backup Urshifu and a Professor's Research with an empty hand. That is about the best start to the turn you could have asked for. We do, however, I don't think there's a way to get both unless we start playing around with things like Dedenne to draw extra cards. We're not going to get that combination. Oh, or are we?
Yeah, you can just go ahead and swing into it. You can hit it for 150 and calm out the Mimikyu. That's one way to get damage. You don't always need the Zigzagoon to be setting up. things when you've got the damage straight for you. There's also the rapid flow option if he wants to just hold the Great Catcher for next turn. You can take a 2-prize KO, develop that Mimikyu. What a stunning turn for Azul here. He has really popped off in these opening few turns and has so much gas left over for the following as well.
Yeah, I mean, this is just the perfect turn. You get the KO while damaging the Mewtwo and Mew, and you've got the Mimikyu out, so Mewtwo and Mew's ability is turned off, so the energy is on a Pokemon which is basically unusable, and we've seen how well the maths works out here. All we need is a Gale Thrust from the Urshifu VMAX, and that will be a KO, putting us all down to 1 prize remaining. That, I didn't expect Azul to get his 1 Great Catcher off of a Stellar Wish, so when I'm thinking, he's got to get the Galarian Zigzagoon, actually, Azul had a less likely but far better plan.
The good news for David is he is already holding on to his tag switch, so this Mewtwo, he can just sort of abandon ship at this point and say, well, currently it's unusable thanks to that Mimikyu. I can just go ahead and move it over to the Bolton now instead. He's just going to move 1 over, keep the options open across the board. So by the looks of things, David's going to try and get some chip damage in with the Bolt Storm. At least that's what he's eyeing up here. And he's going to go ahead and Dead Change for a fresh hand. Does pick up the option to Reset Stamp. By the way David's playing this hand, he may want to be holding the Reset Stamp to try and force us all down to even less cards right now. Because if you are going to claw a way back into this game, you really need a Stamp to do a lot of legwork.
Yeah, and the good news is that Mewtwo and Mew on the bench isn't going to be KO'd on the bench. It's going to need to be in the active. So Azul's taking 4 prizes to finish out the game is looking a lot less likely, so that means that the Stamp to 1 or 2 really is on the board a lot more, but we do see David drop it down nice and early, wants to get some tempo going. I do wonder if the boss's orders onto Mimikyu might have been what David was hoping for. Not an option at the end of the day.
Yeah, that's why you see the commitment of the tag switch for 1, because he, as you say, he's trying to target that Mimikyu. You can take an easy 1 prize and then open up that energy again on the Mewtwo and really allow these to sort of take control. It would have been a really solid play, especially with Azul's prizes as they are. But looks like we're just having to pass back over on an Electrify, set up the multiple threats on the bench instead. Azul even picks up the Zigzagoon now, so he could tag the new Mewtwo that's been put into play. So his hand is already really, really good. He's going to opt to... Oh, sorry, David's going to pick up the damaged Mewtwo into the active, and Azul actually hits the switch here, so he can Zigzagoon down the other Mewtwo on the bench, and he does have the Gale Frost option if he wants it. Could be eyeing up Quick Ball for a potential alternative line instead. He may think his hand's not good enough to sit on, or he just doesn't want to fall prey to stamps unwillingly.
I mean, David is down to 1 stamp, and Azul knows that, like we keep saying, open deck list tournament. So I kind of like this. If David's got 2 stamps in hand, there's a much higher chance. I quite like this aggressive route because you can afford to go a little bit slower here. You can afford to have a turn or 2 off if you're taking this much of an advantage. And that rope was so huge because David basically had to... Oh no, turns out actually wanted to get the Boltund anyway, so we do see Boss's orders come out, take out the Boltund, and we see Galarian Zigzagoon tagging that Mewtwo, and now that was just such a good turn from Azul. He takes out the only viable attacker, turns off both of the Mewtwo. What does David do here, Joe?
Yes. That's a great question, Ross. He's picked up a Speed Lightning to give himself a couple draws here, but we are in panic stations. His board is almost entirely unusable. Does pick up a Cherish Ball, so can go ahead and use another Dedenne GX here if he wants to. Maybe eyeing up some stalling targets with Boss's orders, but any boss actually helps Azul because you're resetting an Urshifu back to the bench. So it's probably in the safest position where it is right now. So you're just going to probably forego the Boss's orders here and just go ahead and get a fresh 6.
And there's a lot you need here. I mean, you've got to be eyeing up something like Tapu Koko to try and get a bit more energy on the field. I mean, we do see there are 2 Pikas and 3 Boltunds in the discard. And these Pikachu and Zekrom decks, they don't play Pokemon Recovery, so there can't be that much left in David's deck that even is a viable attacker. Actually, that's all the Boltund, all the Pikachu and Zekrom. Yeah. So with the Mewtwo's turned off, the only thing left is that 1 Raichu and a Alolan Raichu.
And where does David go? He's got a Marnie, but it would be increasing Azul's hand size. he's not to know that there's a research that was taken off the prize cards. You have to hope that the less cards is going to be more beneficial to you. Possibly not, though. David's saying that if I'm just passing this turn, I'm just wasting my turn, really. The thing is, he's already spent his attachment on the Speed Lightning, so I'm not sure what else he can do here to develop.
Well, what I'm thinking...
Fresh hand. Yeah, go for it.
I'm thinking you switch, get the Zidane on the bench, Tapu Koko, Tingly Return GX.
The thing is, Azul already needs to switch most of the time, right? He can lose to a... Well, David is currently losing to a Rapid Strike Energy, but is going to retreat out to not lose to a Rapid Strike Energy. This retreat into the Mewtwo at least forces a Gust from Azul here. Incidentally, there is the Rapid Strike Energy off the top.
Yeah. I didn't think Tingly Return was going to win it.
Plays. Oh, yeah, of course. I mean, get some...
This would have been fun.
Yeah, exactly. So Azul can use Scoop Up Net here, and he can Crobat for a few additional cards. His options seem fine right now. Lots of decent ones. He's not under threats for any reason, so I really like committing the energy first.
Yeah.
It's only a few cards from Crobat, but you're so close to game already. But it feels safe enough. Interesting. So Retreat Wish is the play here. This could allow you the best odds to get that Gale Thrust. You just pay the retreat, so you can Scoop Up Net already. He picks up a Research now as well, so he may even forego using Crobat.
Yeah, although you say that, he's eyeing up that Scoop Up Net. I mean, you're right. I quite like the idea of just using the G-Max Rapid Flow here and just putting almost everything in, well, putting everything into range of a Gale Thrust next turn, really putting David on that clock. It doesn't make a huge amount of difference, honestly. Here, you can try and dig and get the boss's orders. Actually, Azul chooses just to leave Jirachi in the active and go, you know what? I'm close enough to winning. I don't have what I want right now. I'm just going to leave it till next turn.
Yeah, he's got a decent amount of options in hand right now. Many players would have just played the Research there, I think. This way, Azul is kind of safeguarding around Crushing Hammer that little bit better, I think, which may be playing on his mind. I know a few energies have gone already. He's paid Retreat a couple times, which may be playing on his mind and not wanting to get done in that way, because I think that's the only way you lose the game at this point. David is still many turns away from launching any attacks back at him. So we are actually going to see a Speed Lightning into a Crushing Hammer heads. So nice from Azul to hold on to that resource. It's going to pay off for him next turn because, like we say, he's still just a Boss's Orders Gale Thrust away.
Yeah, it's a very good position for Azul right now. And, I mean, Azul, has he used his Great Catcher for the game yet? Have we seen that hit the discard? Because that would be a win condition.
Yeah, I think it's still open for him.
Because that would be... I know he drew it earlier off of the Jirachi early in the game, but I can't remember if he Marnied or Professored Research. If it's in his deck, that certainly is a win condition here. As it is, we don't see it, but we do see a Boss's Orders. So I think it's fair to say that next turn is almost certainly going to be the end of the game. We get a Martial Arts Dojo off of the Stellar Wish, it looks like. Yes, it does. Just really replacing Chaotic Swell. It's not going to stick in play. So really here, it's just a case of chill for next turn or get some damage on the Mewtwo and Mew if that's what you're into.
Yeah, he's once again sitting on game. He's played as many cards as he can out of his deck just in case he is going to get hit with another Reset Stamp or a Marnie here, which David does pick up. He can get another attachment into the Raichu. It's still a turn away, but he's slowly making some headway here. He's going to get 3 additional cards from Crobat coming into play with that Dark Asset ability. And we will be seeing, looks like the Yell Grunt. I'm not a huge fan of this Yell Grunt, to be honest, because it doesn't actually change anything.
Well, no, he had the energy, and now it's in his hand and he can just reattach it, but there was no hand disruption, so we see the switch into Urshifu V Max, we see the Boss's Orders Lysander onto the Crobat V, and Crobat V is hit for 300 damage because of the weakness, and Azul takes an honestly a pretty comfortable game 1 there. Didn't really seem in doubt for most of the game.
Yeah, he tagged both the Mewtwo's. He was able to pick up knockouts on the Boltons when needed, which just meant that David had a really tough rebuild job. As soon as you see that tag switch spent in the early stages, and then the big Dead A change miss on the Boss's Orders from David's end, Azul has all the time in the world. He just sat there wishing and wishing and wishing with that one Jirachi because he knew he had the luxury of time. No need to overplay with the research and go fishing and missing other pieces along the way. You can go ahead, take your time with it, open up your board space again, and just eventually get there because, once again, he was under no threat for a long time there, which really allowed him just a patient approach to really be the right one.
Absolutely. It is always nice to have the luxury of time. So let's head on over into game 2 then. Remember, we are in a best of 5 here, and it depends what's going to happen at the end of this best of 5. Remember, we're in a double elimination tournament. Azul has already lost, David hasn't. So if David wins this best of 5, he is your Players' Cup free champion. If Azul wins this best of 5, he isn't yet your champion because he would essentially knock David to his first loss, and we would then have 2 players on a loss each on a new best of 5 to decide the champion. So Azul is essentially 5 wins away from being your champion here. David is still only 3 wins away. And there is still a chance for David here. He's got Paralysis, he's got Recess Stamp, he's got Crushing Hammer, he's got Mew to a Mew that can hit for weakness. There are ways that David can swing this match in his favour.
Well, it's not looking great because Azul's hand is pretty stacked right now. He can sit on a monster, realistically. He has a lot of good ball search. He already has that easy way to move out of his Jirachi. He can dip on that Stellar Wish one more time as well. David does have his optimum starts. He has the Boltund. He's also picked up a Quick Ball. He could choose to get rid of that Pikachu and Zekrom, but after seeing how the first game played out, do you still commit down this Mewtwo line? It's one of those awkward questions. You could potentially go for Raichu plays more aggressively. Actually, that's in the prizes for David. That's rough.
Oh, yeah. I like the Raichu plays. I like the Paralysis. Again, Azul can always switch out of the Paralysis, but if you're the underdog in a matchup, you have got to think about what can I do. So you don't think, oh, if I paralyze them, they might have the switch. You think, I can paralyze them. And if they've got some kind of switching option, I'll cross that bridge when I come to it. But you need to play to your routes. I still like Mewtwo and Mew here, and I know Azul plays Jirachi GX to take away weakness and Mimikyu to turn off the ability, and I know Azul's got answers for it, but like I say, I think what you've got to do here is just take every chance you've got, and the thing I love is there is Tag Switch in David's deck, so that means that if he attaches to a Mewtwo, he can always Tag Switch out of it. Pikachu and Zekrom, it gets KO'd for free prizes by a Gale Thrust or by a G-Max Rapid Flow, and I can't be on board with that.
No, I agree. I think shortening the clock to as few turns as possible means that Azul needs to draw the most outs, essentially. So the Electrify to the Mewtwo ultimately is going to be the choice that David selects. We go back over to Azul, who does have a Rapid Strike Energy, does drop down a Mew and an Urshifu, and can just go ahead and get a fresh hand of 7 with Professor's Research. Finds himself a switch, currently maybe wishing towards Communication here to try and take a KO. Also doesn't have any Mimikyu established. Not as picture perfect as we've seen other turns for him.
No, the KO is fine. He's got 100 Furious Blows to go and get the KO on the Boltund. That's not the issue. The issue is what he really wants to do is what he did in game 1. He wants to get the KO while tagging that Mew to a Mew and getting the Mimikyu down on the field. And I'm not sure he's got the hand to pull that off right now.
Yeah, the upside of Great Catcher is, firstly, it's an aggressive line, but secondly, it reduces your hand size quite a lot for a Crobat play. It does mean you're really trying to make a push to try and then find a Ball Search out for a Mimikyu, but it could be a really huge one for him. We'll see what he goes for. Yeah, I actually really like this Great Catcher pickup. It's less dips with Stellar Wish because you don't get the extra Scoop Up Net, but this is allowing a Crobat to become really deadly here.
I like this if you get the Mimikyu. I think if you whip the Mimikyu off this, you're basically going, hey, 2 Energy Mewtwo, come into the active. I can't KO you. Please don't take multiple prizes off of my Urshifu. The thing is, there's so many matchups where you can get rid of the energy. And getting rid of the energy, hunting the energy is huge. That doesn't even work here because it's a single energy attack. And we do see a Quick Ball that is huge.
That's a monster draw for him. Now Azul can go ahead and pick up that Mimikyu. I really like that he held the Urshifu there as well. It may seem counterintuitive because you're drawing 1 less card, but you kept your Communication outs open. Oh, looks like Mimikyu's not even here. So
Mimikyu's prize.
Jirachi play instead. Jirachi does a similar role for you. You don't mind getting 150 sort of setup damage on the board, and you know that a full blitz won't knock you out. You know that you're even out of range of the Tag Bolt GX attack. So getting the 150 proactively is still going to be very solid for Azul here in his overall game plan, but it's not quite as awkward for David. He'll at least be able to put some damage into play and actually set up other attackers, which he was unable to do really in that game 1.
No, it's not bad. It's not Mimikyu. Mimikyu would be ideal here because Mimikyu would just stop the attack. Jirachi allows the attack but stops the weakness. It is also a 160 HP Pokemon, so in the unlikely event we do see a 6 energy Tag Bolt, that is actually a 2-prize Pokemon on the bench that will be KO'd, whereas Crobat and Urshifu aren't. So I don't know if we're going to see 6 energy on a Mewtwo and Mew or a Pikachu and Zekrom. But it is something to think about. Like I say, David's working on really thin margins here. That is a 2-prize option off of a 6 energy Tag Bolt.
Oh, what a rough Marnie for David. No Pokemon with which to full blitz onto here. It's going to have to all go to the Bolton on the bench, which is not where you want it to go. Yeah, that is rough for him. A tough break. Not even any Cherish Balls or Dead changes or second chances with Crobat. Man, the only turn that he had available for the door to open, really just not getting it done with that Marnie play, unfortunate.
No, and you've still got Bolt Storm on Boltund, but you have that when you got 2 energy on Boltund, not when you've got 4. Boltund was already 1 energy away from Bolt Storming. It's not completely wasted energy, but that is far from what you were looking for there. That is not what David wanted to do.
Azul can go ahead and get a Stellar Wish before the research. It's always a really nice play when you have that Scoop Up Net Com option in hand already. He's going to go ahead and pick up the Karate Belt here. Just possibly as a card to go before the research by the looks of things, because he can just go back into the damaged Urshifu and just go for 100 Furious Blows again. Alternatively, you could Scoop Up Net the Mew, turn it into a VMAX, and then go with your research looking for a switch out. The only slightly awkward thing here is that in terms of sequencing, you need the VMAX to be in play before it becomes the new active Pokemon. So we are going to see Azul. This keeps both options open, really. You can still make that VMAX on the bench and still open up Gale Thrust and back up of 100 Furious Blows. But it is going to go into the active here. We are going to see the double attachment of Karate Belt and Basic Energy onto the benched Urshifu. And we do have a Rapid Flow KO here.
Yeah, I think that's the plan.
It does open up the 3-prize knockout response for David, doesn't it, though? With Tapu Koko Prism Star still being an option on the table.
Yes, I believe it does. That Boltund will actually become quite big, but it's one of those situations where Azul is in that luxury position of being like, you know what? You can KO my 3-prize Pokemon, I don't care. There's no energy on it. I've got my Urshifu on the bench, and either a VMAX, assuming you can switch in after VMAXing, or a Rapid Strike Energy, and there is a return KO anyway to go down to 1 prize. So we do see David playing a Marnie here, putting us all down to a much lower hand. Azul had quietly built up a pretty monstrous hand size. But this is my problem with where David is in this matchup. Usually you're like, yeah, I'm taking out a 3-prize Pokemon. I'm evening up the prize race. I've only 3 prizes left until I win. And actually, no, it's not there.
And David is going to go for a Dead Change here. Is going to go ahead and commit to his Mewtwo at this stage. If he can Dead Change into Tapu Koko Prism Star, this could be big. Doesn't find it, which means he's limited to 160 damage here, which isn't going to be enough for a KO. Can you afford to Electrify here, potentially, and put all your eggs back into the Mewtwo basket?
I mean, Mewtwo isn't 1-hit KO'd, so that is a good thing. The bad news is that with the Mew on the bench, even though that Jirachi is a target for Tag Bolt, the Mew on the bench is stopping it. And you need 2 KOs on VMAXs. If there wasn't a Jirachi on the bench, I'd be like, you know what? Let's just go full Mewtwo. You're not getting 1-hit KO'd, so just KO both those Urshifu, it's a chance. But this is why Jirachi is being played, and this is such a problem.
Yeah, and look at this. Azul now has the backup VMAX. We are going to see a scoop-up communication play by the looks of things. or could just be using Scoop Up just to free up some board space for him, because he could go for Communication plus Quick Ball for the combination of Zigzagoon and Mimikyu, which was taken off the prizes now. So that could be a really nasty play Azul can set up this turn and just finish off the Boltund.
And you've got to think, if you're turning off the Mewtwo while going down to one prize remaining, that is going to be just probably too big a hill for David to climb and come back into this game. This is going to be a very, very strong play from Azul here. Not just having a favourable matchup, but really locking it up. And this is what I like seeing from Azul here. It's a really good, you know what? I'm going to do everything. I'm not just going to go, hey, I can win and I can rush. Having said that, we don't see a Zigzagoon here, but then again, Jirachi GX is still on the board, taking away the weakness, so there is a KO on the board with the benched Urshifu, but the active is going to be safe.
Yeah, that is a surprise to me, actually. I feel like, once again, if you take all the energy off the board, it just seems like a really good play to also just lock up that Mewtwo. Because it's as if you're taking 3 energies off the board just by pinging it once with Zigzagoon. Maybe Azul has better prize knowledge than we do, seeing that he doesn't feel like it's worthwhile. Thanks to the Dojo, though, this Strafe is going to take a KO, and it means he can actually cherry-pick a Crobat to the active, rather than having an Urshifu in the line of fire.
Yeah, I like this a lot. Force David to have a boss's orders or something along those lines just to be able to actually get a hit in. And the thing is that David, did we just see a pass there?
No. We've just switched over. We're fine. Azul's just picked up some really good prize cards. He's got boss's orders for game next turn.
Okay.
So he's pretty happy. And David, not so much with this Cherish Ball. Not getting him very far. There is going to be a big reset stamp, which is hugely important, we have to say. There's also going to be a Yell Grunt beforehand. So you take the energy off the VMAX, and then you go ahead and stamp it away for Azul, hopefully not drawing back into it. You can go ahead and put down your Tapu Koko, and you can go for Full Blitz. I don't think there's any basic energies remaining in the deck after that Electrify. Possibly there is... Oh, there's just one remaining. That can go into the Boltund, though. Let's see. Azul has a Switch in hand. Does have Scoop Up. That's not going to do much outside of a Strafe. A Strafe hit is still also really good, though, because then you turn off the Mewtwo.
Yeah. I mean, that's a great play here. You just switch Strafe, and then David's in a bad position if he can get... I mean, to be fair, you do have Tapu Koko there, so Boltund is going to be on the board, but the problem is, then Azul has got so many outs. Azul can get a Rapid Strike energy and start using 100 Furious Blows, can get a VMAX and start using Gale Thrust. And then obviously you've got the usual things like just Professor's Research and supporters that can draw you into a bunch of things. So there is an opening here for David to really start getting some damage on the board, but it's going to be a rough one back. We do see heads on Crushing Hammer, though, so Azul is actually out of energy and doesn't have a good hand right now.
I actually think this Cherish Ball... David already knew from last turn that there was nothing valid, and he's just turned off the option for Quick Ball now to be a top deck into Eldegoss. And he's actually just going to pass here, thinking it's too risky to Boltund. The thing is, what are you waiting to draw? That's my question. You're giving Azul even more time, who's picked up his own Scoop Up Net here. He could Scoop Up Net and Quick Ball into Dedenne and look for win this turn.
Yeah, this is a strong play from Azul. Like you say, having a card in hand to use with Quick Ball, always a good thing. And there is a Lysander Boss's Orders Lysander and a Rap. No, there's no switch though, is there?
Yeah, we're so close.
I'm like, he's got Gusting, he's got energy. Oh, there's no switch.
Yeah. And unfortunately, it's the Urshifu with a Karate Belt currently on. Azul is going to try and, again, just remove as many bad cards as possible from his deck to improve his future draws. He can commit energy to this new VMAX that he's just evolved into here. And he can go for research to establish a good hand here. Still no switch outs for him. That's a rough break.
Yeah, no energy. And the thing about that would have been, you could have Gale Thrusted, got 150 on the bench, and then an energy next turn would have given you the win. That would have been really good. But as it stands at the moment, top deck Eldegoss is quite nice.
That's huge here. You can Marnie back down Azul's fresh 7-card hand. And let's remember that Mewtwo's back in play because the Mimikyu's been taken off the board. Still not hitting for weakness, but at least it's hitting. And Azul's 7-card hand wasn't actually that good, so I don't think he's too sad that it's going here. There's also the Fan of Waves coming down for David, which can remove Azul's only energy in play right now. The Dancing Ancients is going to be coming in as well.
Well, it also means that G-Max Rapid Flow is off the board next turn, so I like that a lot. It just turns off that option, forces a Gale Thrust at best, so that is nice. And Azul currently doesn't have the switch, so if Azul doesn't have the switch, then we could see this Mewtwo really putting in a shift.
That Fan of Waves being huge here. Otherwise, Azul would have had game. There was a Rapid Strike on this benched Urshifu that was taken away. He could have just attached the other Rapid Strike energy to retreat and use that boss's orders. As it looks now, though, David can't disrupt Azul's hand, and he is still sitting on game. He gave himself such a nice prize buffer. It's just one energy still wins it for him. David can dig for more Crushing Hammers. There's still a decent number of them remaining in the deck, I believe. I think he prized 1 or 2, but I think there's still at least 1 rattling around in there. Not seeing it, though. No hand disruption pieces either.
No, and the problem is
Azul
Azul
still tanking right now, but we know that Azul has the boss. Ooh, there's a Crushing Hammer.
That's nice. That's less nice.
I think that wraps it up for Azul.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's so hard to come back from here because now it's just so easy to boss his orders, one of those weak Pokemon into the active, and Gale Thrust for the win. So we are going to see a Tag Bolt here, it looks like, get the KO. So taking 3 prizes, getting himself halfway there. But unfortunately, I think halfway is not going to be quite enough here. It looks like Azul will have this game sewn up.
Yeah, every play there made sense for David. He's setting himself up 2-turn win so he can just tag switch onto a Bolt or just move into a Bolton next turn and boss. But as it stands, Azul did eventually get Marnied into the right combination to simply free retreat and Gale Thrust on that Bolton. Stormed ahead in that game. There were some stamps, some Crushing Hammers, and some Marnies to throw him off course, but eventually his lead was just too great there and goes up 2-0 in this first series.
Absolutely, but we're starting to see some gleams. Look, we all know Azul is a favourite in this game, and Azul is playing really well, taking advantage of opportunities, and really is showing us why we all think Azul is probably going to end up winning this. But David in that matchup showed us some real gleams, showed us some big attacks, some nice little plays, some Crushing Hammers, some Yell Grunts. There were points in that last game where David actually had a little bit of a chance, was getting some things rolling, took a big KO at the end, and all right, it wasn't enough, but 1 or 2 things go a little bit differently early in the game, and maybe that KO was actually the winning KO.
Yeah, absolutely, and he was just that 1 turn away, so if the Marnie was kinder to him, maybe it was enough to get him over the line. So there are still fine margins, there's still big attacks on the table. If David can buy those times, those turns of breathing room, he can build towards big Bolt Storms, and that's still a huge way that he can claw back prize cards. So let's jump into this game 3 then, and see if David is going to change up his game plan in any way, or if it's going to be more of the same from Azul.
And we are used to game 3 being the deciding game. It might be. If Azul wins this, we will see a victory for Azul. Remember, of course, that would just be the first best of 5. That would not be the championship yet. Azul is coming from loser's bracket. And we saw at the beginning, though, when we went through the brackets, David played 4 matches to get to global grand finals. Azul played 7.
So potentially some mental fatigue coming in as well as maybe an option for you. Although when you have a turn as easy as that, it's looking pretty breezy for Azul. Gets the early Urshifu V, has the options for Quick Ball and Communication next turn, so easy outs into the VMAX. He's even holding on to great catcher plays if he again wants to go aggressively hunting the likes of Mewtwo and Mew Tag Team. David here starts with Crobat, which we never like to see. I know a lot of your Pokemon are already weak to fighting, but this is just another 2-prizer on the list that you've got to try and move out the way here. And he's going to start off looking for that Bolton V. It's still your best plan of action, I feel, to try and electrify onto some of your tag team targets. And he is going to have a look through his prize cards here.
Yeah, it's an awkward one. Well, you don't really want to leave a 2-prize Pokemon in the active that your opponent can KO as easily as Urshifu can KO Boltund. But you've got to weigh that against getting the energy with Electrify. And the fact of the matter is, if you don't Electrify, and we've seen this in this tournament and in previous tournaments, if you don't Electrify, then you've got to, there is an option where you attach and then you Tapu Koko onto 2 tag teams and you tag switch from one to the other, and you can get free energy and a full blitz going in one turn. But that is a very difficult thing to pull off. You generally just have to go for the Electrify here, and maybe you do have those crazy turns with Tapu Koko tag switch, but most of the time, even though you don't want to give up 2 prizes to Electrify, you kind of got to.
David is forced to put down his Pikachu and Zekrom here. I think it's one of those things where he'd rather not put it into play, but just on the off chance that he misses Ball Search outs for Mewtwo, he would then be forced to Electrify onto the Pikachu and Zekrom. As it stands, he has picked up plenty of Ball Search. He's got the electromagnetic radar here, so he can get the Raichu and a Dedenne by the looks of things. And then he can also use Quick Ball for Mewtwo and Mew tag team. And it looks like he may still need to Dedenne change this hand, so I don't see any switch outs here. The Fan of Waves was a nice pickup for him earlier on in the turn, though. That at least removes the option of Azul to go ahead and G-Max Rapid Flow straight out the gate. But we still need some switch outs in here for David to have that Electrify. Lots of outs. He's got the double balloon and the 4 switches, so you'd still expect him to hit it here.
Absolutely. And we've seen that Azul has had a crack in turn 1. Got the Jirachi down, got the Jirachi in the active, the other Jirachi, got the Urshifu, got the energy. We do see Balloon there, so that is nice. You cannot have a bad start when your opponent has had a great start when you have a bad matchup. You need to just do your thing. You need to cross your fingers that it goes as well as it can for you. And frankly, as mean as it might sound, you kind of got to hope that your opponent has a bad start, because that's what you're relying on here. As mean as that sounds, you are relying on your opponent not getting rolling. That Jirachi being on the bench for Azul already means that you're not going to get those big full blitz KOs, and that is really sad. So you've got to at least get the Electrify off here and work from there.
It looks like Azul does have a pretty good hand still. There's the Great Catcher play available to him. He has early search options if he does just want to tag that Mewtwo early with the combination of Zigzagoon. And, oh, is there Mimikyu in the deck or no here?
I did not
quite
see.
Swiftly through. No,
Mimikyu again.
Man, he's been pretty unfortunate prizing his key pieces here. But again, he could try and just go for a Gale Thrust turn 1 into it, because you can go ahead and Great Catcher and play the Professor's Research and hope to Stellar Wish or draw naturally into a Scoop Up Net or a Switch Out here.
It's always an option. I don't think many people watching incidentally are going to have much sympathy for Azul prizing a Mimikyu 2 games in a row. I think most of the sympathy is going to be headed David's way. I do find it funny that in previous rounds, Azul just started with Mimikyu every game, and now the one time when it's really useful, he's hiding away in the prizes. He's not keen on coming out.
You can see Azul definitely having a little bit of a debate here, whether it's still the right plan to have this VMAX in the line of fire. You have an awkward Great Catcher now. You really do value Air Balloon quite highly, putting it on your VMAX to be able to shift in and out of them. But you may still have to make this line when you don't have Mimikyu. You want to try and aggressively target that Mewtwo and just make sure it doesn't get out of control.
Yeah, I mean, that's where I'm thinking here. I like just hitting the Mimikyu, hitting the Mewtwo and Mew. Too many M Pokemon around. Because at the end of the day, you're getting rid of the biggest threat. And that's really the only thing you're scared of. If David wants to play the whole game with Boltund and Pikachu and Zekrom, it is going to be a very quick, easy game for Azul. His Pokemon, they get 2 or 3 prizes with single energy attacks. The only way David really ends up winning this game most of the time is using that Mewtwo and Mew. It's why we see us all playing both Jirachi GX and the Mimikyu. So sometimes you got to spend a few extra resources to get an attack off onto the Mewtwo and Mew, because that is pretty much the only way your opponent can claw back into the game.
And Azul finally gets there. The research not doing him too much good, but the Dedenne does come in clutch, as we do find the energy and the switch out. Also able to Stellar Wish into a boss's orders. So he's got the option to G-Max Rapid Flow or boss's orders anything up he wants next turn. So that's ended up pretty nicely for him overall. Let's see if David can make life more difficult for him, possibly looking for Crushing Hammers in here, as well as to grab this Tapu Koko Prism Star to Dance of the Ancients and get some more energies into play.
Always nice to get energies. Just checking the discard there, making sure there are 2 energy there. There are. So that means you get the full effect. Sometimes you'll use Dance of the Ancients for 1 energy, but you're always a little bit sad when that happens. So with the attachment for the turn, we could see Pikachu and Zekrom getting off a full blitz here. Or we could see Boltund coming in to do big damage. If we see Dance of the Ancients here, it is going to make things very difficult for Mewtwo and Mew to attack. Although Tag Switch does remain an option, moving energy from the Pikachu and Zekrom over to the Mewtwo and Mew. But then you're potentially giving up 5 prizes to 1 energy.
Sorry, yeah, that's not a great trade. Yeah, that's a pretty awkward trade for him. David is going to have a quick Cherish Ball just to have a scout here, see what his outs are, whether or not he needs to commit the Speedlight into the active. He would hate to do it, but it does allow you to get some damage in with a Boltund. It's one of those risk versus reward plays where you think, is the 5 cards from Marnie going to be enough for me to actually hit a Switch or an Air Balloon here? It feels like you've got to have the right side of luck if you are ever going to win this series, so I don't mind not committing the energy attachment here at all and just hope to find Switch out, which he does. And it now means he has an option to attach to a Boltund instead this turn, which might be a little bit more preferable.
Yeah, I like that. Double Boltund, double Switch, getting an energy. I mean, you can just try and go aggro with Boltund here. Boltund does build up pretty quickly. We do see David just kind of mulling over the options here. That Mewtwo and Mew is about the only thing that won't be attacking. So we could see an energy onto a Pikachu and Zekrom, or we could see Boltund attacking with a second Boltund being built up. And there is a lot of energy on the field, so Boltund is going to put in a decent shift with Bolt Storm here. It's 190, which means with an energy attachment next turn, we would be working on a 2-hit KO, and you never know. Maybe we can build up to some other KO in the future with something like a Mewtwo and Mew, or maybe Boltund just goes off.
And Azul is going to convert his Jirachi into a Urshifu VMAX thanks to the help of the combination of Scoop Up Net and Pokemon Communication, choosing not to attach an energy, keeping the option for the G-Max Rapid Flow open, and wow, he's drawn straight into it, so a huge turn for him now. He can take a 5-prize turn.
That's, it's good for him. It's less good for David.
Very, very good for Azul here. It's a huge turn. You've got a Quick Ball to potentially re-establish Dedenne here. You may want to hold on to these outs just in case of reset stamps, or you can just develop another Jirachi to at least give yourself Stellar Wish as a fallback plan at this stage.
I like that
I like
a lot.
this option for sure, yeah.
Because you want the Rapid Strike energy, you want the Marnie for future turns, you want these, you want the Marnie for future turns, you want the Rapid Strike energy for now. G-Max Rapid Flow will KO the Boltund. We've said about the maths a few times here, that Mewtwo and Mew's got 270. It's already taken 150 from the Gale Frost, 120 here would do exactly the right number. This does, of course, make us all, like we said, very vulnerable to a reset stamp to 1. But it's almost like at this stage Azul doesn't really care, because I think the phrase you used, Joe, was prize buffer. There is a big prize buffer coming in here. Your 5 prizes up to 0. So even if you get even if you get reset stamp to 1, you've got so many turns to draw out of it.
And now it's just a reset stamp to 3, because Azul sets up game with the same combination of cards, essentially, by tagging this Pikachu and Zekrom instead. So the option's still open for him to, the prize map's no different for him. It's just now he gets stamped to 3 cards rather than 1. Instead, David's going to go ahead and Marnie here. He can still swing with this Boltund. It will be doing enough damage to take a response KO, so that's pretty much always happening. There's no energies in play right now for David to take advantage of Crushing Hammer with. So he is just going to take the 3-prize KO here.
Yeah, it's a nice KO, goes for those 3 prizes, but it really is just cross your fingers, hope Azul doesn't have it. I love that Azul went for only taking a couple of prizes, not going for all 5. One of the things about Pikachu and Zekrom is, we'll talk about that in a second, because we see Scoop Up Net, we see Boss's Orders, and we see Gale Frost for the KO and the win. So Azul does take our first best of 5 series, 3 games to 0.
Yeah, doing it in impressive style as well. Really nice way to take another 3-prize KO, and Azul is storming this grand finals. He is drawing, you know, good enough to win the games. He's not drawn perfectly every game, but if you draw just good enough hands, you're always going to be out on top because of the tech cards he's playing. He's prized some along the way, but he's taken those prizes, and it's not been too much of a hurdle for him. So yeah, this has been a really quick 3-0, convincing the whole time. And if you're David, I mean, it's one of those things where do you even forego your normal Pikarom game plan? I'm starting to think that this set up the Boltund and Hope strat may not even be working. Do you even go for panic plays of trying and aggro out, go first instead, try and get early full blitz? Because the traditional game